Hey guys, this is Franklin from My Law Academy. Look, let's tap into offer, the other half of it, enforceable offers. Because the more you understand about offer, the better you'll perform on exam day. Let me give you the nuts and bolts. The Smarty Pants definition of offer is that it's the manifestation of present intent to enter into a bargain based upon certain indefinite terms that creates the power of acceptance in an identifiable offeree. Sounds cool, but not very helpful, right? Well, here's the scoop. An offer is a promise, but the promise is not enforceable unless it passes the test for a valid offer. The first step of the test for a valid offer is present intent. If a person really intends to make a promise that they can be held accountable for, then they presently intend to be bound to the promise they made. The way you analyze whether a person intends to be bound at the moment or presently is by looking at three components. First, look to see whether the language used in the promise is definite and reasonable. Words like maybe or unreasonably outlandish claims are clues that a promise may lack the present intent to be bound. Secondly, pay attention to the surrounding circumstances. This is big. A drunken promise at an 80s throwback concert is probably not the most reasonable place to believe that I had the requisite present intent to sell you my mint condition 1965 Mustang far below market value. Lastly, keep an eye out for the relationship between the parties. For folks that have known each other for some time or have previously talked about the terms of a deal, it's far more reasonable to objectively believe that a promise to enter a contract has the requisite present intent because of the nature of their previous relationship. So to make things crystal clear, present intent is the first step of analyzing an enforceable offer. But present intent itself has several factors that you need to examine in order to determine whether present intent is satisfied. The first is reasonable language, the second is surrounding circumstances, and the last is the nature of the relationship. After present intent, step 2 is communication. An enforceable offer must be made or communicated to a specific person. The reason is simple. An enforceable offer will give another party the power to accept that offer or promise made. Since the parties will be bound to the contract they form, it is important that we know exactly who the offer is actually made to. It's based on this rationale that advertisements and auctions are not considered enforceable offers. The third and final step is certain indefinite terms. There are two lenses through which to view certain indefinite terms. One lens is the common law, which applies to service contracts. The other lens is the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC, which applies to contracts for the sale of goods. This is an important distinction because an offer may be enforceable under one approach and unenforceable under the other approach. Let's begin with the common law. Offers under the common law require that 5 certain indefinite terms be set in order to form an enforceable offer. The common law required that there be a set price, set quantity, known subject matter, a specific time for performance, and the parties to the contract must also be stated. If any of the 5 were missing, then an offer would not be formed. There would be no enforceable offer. The UCC was developed because the common law's strict position on certain indefinite terms would destroy too many contracts that business people actually intended to form. The idea was that the requirements needed to be softened, since people who regularly engage in business are often so familiar with their industry that they commonly gloss over certain terms that are commonly understood by insiders. For this reason, the UCC created what are called gap fillers. Gap fillers allow the court to fill in certain terms that business people or merchants leave out. For instance, Under the UCC's gap filling, while the subject matter, parties, and quantity are required, the price and time for performance can be filled in later. A lot of times, the price and time for performance can be determined by industry or market standards commonly known to merchants that regularly do business in a certain area. When reading a case or on an exam, usually one party will favor the common law rule for certain indefinite terms because it fits their objective to stop an enforceable contract from even forming. The opposing party may favor the UCC approach because it is more liberal in creating enforceable offers. The arguments made really come down to their respective parties' desired outcome, and it's your job to make the most arguments you can to pick up the most points on the exam, or just to sound cool in class. After you've analyzed the facts of a case or on an exam fact pattern under each of the 3 steps, you can then draw a conclusion about whether the offer is enforceable or unenforceable. Now that you've got the big picture, read your cases, listen and lecture, and get practice analyzing offer with practice problems.